And now, coming to you live from the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, it's the Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal.
Hi, and welcome to the Sheena Metal Experience, only on Parapod TV. I'm your host, Sheena Metal. I'm a psychic medium. I'm an energetic healer. I'm an interfaith minister. I'm a 29-year talk radio host in Los Angeles and beyond. I'm a creative and a performing artist and a paranormal survivor. And I come to you live from my home in Southern California every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Pacific time. This show is about spirituality. It's about creativity. It's about humanity. It's about service. It's about passion. It's about becoming and then maintaining being your best you in this big, beautiful world, and then inspiring others to do the same. And it may be my show because it is the Sheena Metal Experience after all, but it's without a doubt always your experience. My guest today is a wonderfully talented, intuitive medium whom I have known since before I admitted to anybody that I was a psychic medium. I had the good fortune of running into her this weekend at the Pacific Coast Paracon #3 at the Majestic Ventura Theater. And it was so nice to reconnect. And you know, when I reconnect, I'm getting you on the show. So please welcome to the show, the wonderful Doren Figueredo. It's so wonderful to have you here, friend. Great to have you. Thank you always, Emery, for getting our studio audience together so that you can get your round of applause. It's very important. Yes.
That's a crowd of people there.
It's our studio audience. And look who thinks all the applause is for him, this nugget. So sometimes during the show, I was telling you, Doren, that there are appearances. And sometimes you get to see the back of a cat's head during the show. I consider it a bonus.
So. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you for having me, Sheena. It's so good to see you.
To have you. Your familiars are never far away.
I know.
Absolute pleasure to have you, sweetie. I'm so happy to have you here. Weird first question, but you have cats, right? Are they
Yes.
part of your spiritual work?
They love hanging around. Anytime I'm on any technology, my laptop, my phone, they just have to be around that. They just have to be around me. So they're coming around a lot more though.
Yeah.
Yes.
This one is all in the middle of my business. It's interesting because I had another blue, Molly. She passed 2 years ago when she was 18. And she was vocal. Like when I started doing readings, she would come and yell answers into the phone. And it would get to the point where clients would say like, I don't, what does Molly think? Why didn't Molly respond? I'm like, seriously, Molly's giving herself a bath right now. But they just got used to the fact that she would come and like yell. He's very mute. Like he doesn't make a sound. He only speaks when he's in distress, which is nice because then I know when he's in distress. But he has more of a, he more pushes his energy at you, and he's more of a healer in that regard. I would say Molly was more of a reader and Cullen's more of a healer. But it's interesting when he was little, because I've had him since he was 3 days old, and he couldn't really, and I never knew anything that was that young because I don't have kids or siblings that have kids or anything. And because you know, when you pick up thoughts from people and you pick them up the same from animals, right? It's the same thing. It's just they just a little bit different. He was too young to actually put thought. So he would just sort of push emotions at me. It's really interesting, but I think he still does that as a healer. He pushes emotions at people, and it helps them. And I just think that sometimes in our work, right, our animal companions are just the most amazing guides and tools for us.
Absolutely. Or even when we don't feel well, they're just right next to us, right beside us.
Is the best.
Yeah.
But then sometimes he takes a lot of breaks for naps. I don't know if he could work in a hospital because he would need 25 lunch breaks to take naps in the back room. So for you, I think I knew you right before you came out as a psychic, and then obviously for a long time afterwards. So, how long would you say you've been out of the psychic closet, so to speak?
I would
And
have to say, yeah, I would have to say, Sheena, it's been over 25 years
wow,
that I came out publicly because, taboo 30 years ago, it was taboo. You could not say anything that you were psychic. It was considered, negative,
yes, yes,
very
exactly,
negative.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you
Or
had to,
you'd wind up in a psychiatric hospital.
oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. So anytime you said, you were psychic, oh, you need to go see a psychiatrist or
Right,
there's something wrong with you.
right, right. Or aren't you imaginative? Like that kind of condescension, right?
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you? But for reals, I have a friend who she grew up in the deep South and is about the same age as us.
Right.
And when she was little, she told her parents that she saw dead people and they committed her. So
Oh,
there, and
wow.
I think my mother always had that fear, which is why my mom didn't come out until we moved to LA,
Right.
and she was in her 50s. She always knew there was something about her, but like you said, you just didn't talk about it. And
Yeah.
it's so nice for kids coming up now, right? Because they
Oh,
can
yeah.
talk about things so freely and be whoever they are. And there's no taboo and there's no, why are you saying that? You need help. What was the catalyst for you to start talking about it publicly?
Oh my gosh. I'll have to tell you a little story how
Please.
what really pushed me because my friend had a brother that worked in a print shop.
Mm,
And she says, you know what, you need to go out there and just go public. And I said, I don't know how to do that. And she goes, well, get some flyers and go put them on cars. Back then.
yeah. Yeah.
Back then you can put flyers on cars and not get a ticket,
Oh, can
right?
you not do that anymore? Oh, I
Well,
was just thinking that was a good idea and I might go do that tonight.
Well, that's exactly what she said. She goes, you need to put flyers. And I said, no, if I'm going to do that, I'm only going to print 10 flyers because I'm only going to pick 10 cars because
Okay.
I figured somebody from that car is going to call me.
Right. You're only going to pay $1. Back then, weren't stamps were like 10 cents or what? I mean, and flyers were like
Right.
10 cents, right? Now you go to FedEx and you're like, what? A copy's like $2? So you were gonna invest $1 into your business.
So my business really turned out to be those flyers. I put them in the folder and never put them out.
Oh, well, let's put them out tonight.
Because something said, don't do it. That voice, you get that little voice. Don't do it. Yes, go do it. No, don't do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I was always fighting within myself and always worried about what other people thought. How can I come out to say I'm psychic? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
So it was really going out there. And my family, who was, my parents, I came from a religious background, Christians, and
Sure.
it's not very, doesn't fit in.
Right. What kind of Christian, if you don't mind, because there's so many, right?
It's just a non-denominational Christian.
Okay.
My dad, he was a minister, actually.
Okay. Yeah, the ministers always have the psychic kids, right?
Right.
I have a friend whose father was again deep South, very strong. I think I want to say Lutheran minister,
Mhm.
very intense, and she grew up kind of grappling with her gift, with him being such a minister, and then when he died, I think one of the other ministers at the church, or she went to anyway, she discovered that he was secretly a demonologist
Oh,
the
wow.
whole time, and she didn't know. And it was sort of his legacy that she stepped into. But isn't that interesting how I had a friend who used to say once that people go to church at 9 and at 11 o'clock they go see the hoodoo practitioner. But I think there's a lot of that, right? Church
That's
first
right.
and then the psychic.
Right.
I think a lot of people, spirituality is it's a palette, right? It's not
Mhm.
one thing. And you put together your palette. I like to call it spiritual salad bar. You put the things on your
Right.
plate that make up your personal ideologies. And for most people, I think it's not just one thing. It's like people don't go to Sizzler and just eat one thing off the salad bar. I think most people want to expand. And again, nice for folks growing up now, right? This new generation, They're allowed to just make it whatever they want. But I think then it was you crept around. So when you were growing up Christian, did you ever hear about psychics, or did you know people who went to them, or?
No, well, actually, after growing up with my dad, who was a minister, he eventually wasn't a minister, but I'd go behind my parents' back and go see a psychic and get readings, and I wouldn't tell them because it was a secret.
Yeah.
So I would go maybe once every 2 months, and I'd get validations. And I started realizing that I didn't need to go to a psychic. I just started receiving information on my own, but I needed a validation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. It's hard, right? Now, when you started going to see psychics, did you already know you had a gift? I mean, did you have an inkling?
Nope.
Okay.
No, because there was no one to talk to about it. Okay. So the psychics would say, you're special. And I'm like, special in what?
Right. Yeah.
So when you don't have the coaching, the skills, you don't have someone that's supporting, you just have a hard time believing in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes longer. So you become that late bloomer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what happened to me. I'm a late bloomer, but I don't think I'm a late bloomer. I just feel no. But see, back then, that's what I thought.
Right. Because my mom was in her 50s. And I came out I was in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 47. And I think I mean, there were years before where I knew something was up. And now when I look back, and I'll ask you this next, I mean, from childhood, I understand there were things. But I guess I would have just told you I was an intuitive person, or I was an in tune person who was spiritual. Mm-hmm. It never occurred to me that I had gifts until I started doing radio at a place where I mostly interviewed people, which is where I met you. And in 2009, because I had done radio since 2000 and since 1994, but not interviewing people. Mostly like, well, but now I look back at that too, and the same thing when callers would call. I just knew I could feel people through the airwaves. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I remember, Sheena, I remember when you wouldn't even say you're psychic. I remember.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
You
People
were like,
tease me about it. Come on out. Come on out. And that's why I came out. It got to be like a joke that all my friends, I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. When are you coming out? It was like the first question everybody would ask me.
I remember.
But it was a hard closet for me to come out of. Yeah. And I think working in the entertainment business, I thought maybe I would be thought of as a joke, or if people would laugh, or I'd lose all my entertainment gigs and become the scary woo-woo lady. Mm-hmm. And then I think I just sort of started not caring about that. And I think that's what we all go through. Anybody who's different, right, has to come out and talk about how they're different. Right. But the more of us who come out, the more easier it makes it for other people to come out. And I always say it's like that Madonna tour where she wore her underwear on the outside. This is always who I was, but now I just wear my underwear on the outside so you can see it. Because my spirituality always drove everything. Were you that way too? Did your spirituality does it drive your life?
Now it does as an adult, but as a younger child, I think I was more of a rebel. I needed to experience a lot of life. I was more in the present as a child. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I maybe that's why I was a late bloomer, because I was in the present. I needed to know what it was. What am I doing right now, today, not tomorrow, not yesterday. I was in the moment. As an adult and now tapping into spirituality, I forget to be in the present.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, how did I lose that? Where did I lose that part? Because I see too much ahead, and then I sometimes look back, but it doesn't do me any good to stay in the past. But you start reflecting a lot in future and past.
Interesting. See, I think my spiritual work has brought me more into the present, and also being on the radio, because as a young person, when I was growing up an actor, right, it was all about what's on my resume and what do I still want? What am I striving for? And I never lived in the present. And it wasn't until I started doing live radio and video, right? Where you have to be in the present. I can't be worrying about my life right now because I have to be focused on you. That I learned the joy of being in the present. And then I think when I open my spiritual practice, I can't be somewhere else when I'm with a client. So I
Mhm.
have to be in the present. I can't
Mhm.
be all, up in my Aries head
Right.
daydreaming about
Right.
what hasn't happened yet. Um, and I think it's been very good for my anxiety. Staying in the present is a miracle thing
Mhm.
because it really does help you to stay grounded, because when you're
Right.
in the present, you have to experience what's happening right now.
Absolutely. I believe when we also include our creativity and our
Mm.
craft, it keeps us in the present.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. And
So,
I think I love being in the present now. I think I
mhm.
used to sort of fear it. So I was always kind of in my soul and in my head and
Yeah.
hiding from everything as a young person.
Right.
I wasn't like you. I wasn't bold and experiencing everything. I was watching everyone else experiencing everything and processing it in my Aries brain. But but now I love being in the present, and I love just being happy. Like Cullen and I do this thing where um, the cat and I do everything. We do this thing where at night, because he sleeps on the bed with me in his own little bed, I always put my kind of head on his side and I just say, Cullen, we had a good day today, right? And then he gives me a kiss and that's our good day and we go to sleep.
Aw.
There was a time when I was young where I would go to sleep and it would be like, oh my God, what do I need for next week? What do I want for next year? What
Mhm.
fabulous things do I have to do? And it was like I was just never at rest. And I
Yes.
find, and you probably, I'll ask you about this. I find a lot of my clients that part of what is kind of irritating them is they're not in the present. They're
Mhm.
thinking about the relationship from 10 years ago. They're thinking about the relationship they want to have happen 10 years down the road,
Mhm.
and they're never living in the moment, and I feel like I'm always trying to draw them into the present.
Mhm. Right. Um, I have to say with that, it's we as human beings, we keep ourselves in that box of trauma. It
Mm, mhm.
it's we are it's too familiar, it's too similar. It reminds us of something in the past that we never healed from. So
Yeah.
we stay there. We choose to stay there.
Hmm. Hmm. And you think that keeps us from being in the present, the
Yes,
trauma?
yes, only because we do have to open our mind, our heart, our soul, just everything that has to do surrounding us. Sometimes even attachments that we have in our home that if we have a trauma of some type of object, tangible item that is hanging out in your room and it's reminding you of that past, that trauma, get rid of it. You don't need to have that, right?
100%. Excuse me, I never
Oh,
sneeze. Now
bless
you're
you.
hearing him sneezing. um Yes, yes, exactly. You need to let go of things. And I understand
Mhm,
I'm a human being too, and you're a human being, Van Dorn.
mhm.
It's hard to let go of
Yeah,
things. We're not
absolutely.
really made, I always say human beings, we're a young species. And we're still trying to figure it out.
Right.
An old species like a crocodile. A crocodile knows that all you got to do is lay in the water, find food, and make more crocodiles. And aside
Right.
from that, you don't have to do anything. But we're like special toddlers, so we're always like all over the place about everything,
That's
and
true.
we never want to let anything go for fear nothing else will come. And it's a very scary thing. And we stay in a place of trauma and we don't let it go, and we never can fully connect to spirit the way that we're supposed to if all this kind of garbage is in the way of all of the trauma.
Right.
Do you ever get to the point, because so when I first and you probably remember this, when I first came out as a psychic, the advice that so many psychics gave me was, one day you'll get sick of reading and all you'll want to do is find some other way to do it without having to read. You'll want to teach, you'll want to write, you'll want to go to conferences, you won't want to do sessions with people. So now I'm 10 years in and I still absolutely love working one on one with people. And I don't seem to have that same getting sick of it. Do you ever get to places where you have to take breaks, or are you still as in love with it as you've always been?
I am in love with it. However, there are other times in my life where the creativity pops in and it's spirit saying, okay, Van Doren, this is what you have to do now. And I'm like, what? Well, I'm still working on this. and spirit is saying, well, it's time to move on to this. But I don't get tired of doing readings. I still love doing readings because I heal through those readings. I speaking to a client or speaking to anyone, there's a little bit that reminds me of something that happened to me in the past.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, right. A friend of mine used to say, when you give a healing, you get a healing. And it's totally true, right? Our clients heal us.
Absolutely.
We
No
learn
doubt.
something during every session, whether it's about humanity or ourselves or the way the mind works or the way spirit works or the universe works. It's endlessly fascinating every single time.
It absolutely is. And it's not one story is ever the same. Some of them may be the same, but there are times where I've had to personally hold my tears in. And there's times where I've cried with the client because it was an even exchange, and and then they healed and they didn't go back. It was
That's so beautiful. And that's the best feeling, right? Knowing that you're healing people and knowing that your clients are safe with you because you're really just there to heal them. And all kinds of things happen when we get a client, right? Sometimes we get them from people in their lives that have treated them badly. Sometimes we get them from they've treated themselves badly. Sometimes other people they've gone to for help. Other spiritual practitioners, ministers, therapists, doctors, whomever have not been good with it. Like you get them in all different stages of needing help.
Right. We're like a psychic hotline.
Right.
We are. Instant hotline.
Right now, we're starting a new one. Just us. Psychic hotline. And we don't even need to worry about advertising because Van Doren has 10 flyers. Never used. Brand new, crisp flyers in a folder. And we're starting our whole giant conglomerate with that.
They're still in the flyer too.
Oh my God.
They're still in the folder.
That's fantastic. I want one to frame just to have.
I promise I still have them somewhere in the storage somewhere. And fantastic. I call my friend up all the time and I always show her, do you remember this flyer? And she laughs so hard. She goes, Van Doren, you never put them out. And I said, no.
But you put the intention out, right? Not to sound all airy-fairy.
Yes.
But you put the intention out. Right. And that was what you needed. And that was enough. Is it hard for you to advertise? Because I find, look, I'm good about advertising. Like if I'm at some place, like when we were at Pacific Coast Paracon, I'm supposed to be there. I'm great to like put out my wares and speak to people and then, give somebody a card and casually say, hey, I'm here if you ever need me. But I'm not good at the hard sell. And every once in a while I think, how long has it been since I put a post up letting people know I'm available for reading? Should I do that? And then this feeling sinks in like, so I do it probably not as often as I should. But I mean, do you have trouble with that? Because it's
no. Okay. I don't have trouble, Sheena, because it's all word of mouth.
Oh, see, yeah, me too.
That's it.
So would you feel weird about like taking out ads or word of mouth and referrals, which is mostly how I get people almost all too, and doing things like videos and radio. I'm all good with that. But if you had to like put ads out all the time, would that make you feel weird? Like, would you have a billboard on a bus?
I would feel uncomfortable, actually.
Yeah, I would too.
You know how I would see it, like I'm all ego. That's how I don't know why, but I just would feel that way. Like, oh, that's ego.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want that.
Me too. But I wouldn't feel weird about a billboard on a bus for a show I was doing because I would think that was appropriate. That's how you advertise a show.
Right.
But advertising me, I'm not good at it. And I wasn't good at it when I was an artist. I mean, as an actor, I was never good at it either. I was like, oh God, I would go to places, parties with other actors, and they would just start hard selling people. And I'd be in the corner like, and I see some psychics really sell themselves.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, but for me, it's a lot of flash and it's not a lot of, I don't know. I guess I'm just more about heart than head. Yeah. So it's hard for me to do that. And as an empath, I have that thing empaths have where we naturally have the embarrassment gene. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to die about, you know what I mean?
It's so true. That is so true. I really believe empaths, we really struggle living here in this world. But I will
Yeah.
tell you that empaths can change the world. They can.
Yeah.
They
We
can.
can. And I think we do, but we do it subtly from behind the scenes.
Yes.
But
Behind the
yeah,
scenes is the best. I feel not the front of the line. Put me in the back of the line, and we'll move mountains in the back.
I'll heal hearts from back here while nobody's
You're
looking.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's so true. And we're so needed because sometimes this world can be empathy challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to put all of our love into things. And it's hard, I think, for empaths. And this is probably this is a lot of my work with clients and as a teacher, and probably yours too.
Mm-hmm.
We have to encourage other empaths to stay strong and keep contributing, because it's a very common reaction when the world is sort of eating your life force left and right, to want to hide away and stop giving. So I think I always feel like I'm like a little I'm like the boxing coach in the corner for empaths.
Right.
Like, you can get up, you can do another round, go do
Right.
it, because we are so needed. But I think you come out as an empath with this kind of open gift, and enough people shut you down, and you're like, oh, I just want to take my gift and go home.
Right.
And it's so important people don't do that, right?
Right. And it's not because we're helping or giving because we're hiding our own lives. No, it's a natural way to be alive, is
Yeah.
by giving. People say, well, why do you give so much? Why do you do for others so much? It's just a natural thing to do.
Yeah. I don't know how not to do it.
Right. I don't either.
If I stopped, then I would be going against who I am naturally.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But people, I mean, oftentimes narcissists, will be honest, are always like kind of almost shaming me for being so giving and being so open and being so loving. And I have on more than one occasion had somebody in my actual life, not a client, or a listener or a viewer, kind of shame me for saying I love you so much on social media. Like, why do you tell everybody you love them? Then the people who are in your personal life don't know they're special. To which point I go and I call all my best friends and I say, when you look at my social media, do you feel any less special? Do you feel any less loved? Do you feel like you're not part of my heart? And all of them are like, what? And I don't even pay attention to that. But they're, like this idea, like there's love is finite, Van Doren, right? Like there's only so much to give. And if you're putting it up on Facebook, then you've given your quota for the month. And I don't believe that. I believe love is endlessly abundant and there's an unlimited amount of it. And so if you tell people you love them and that makes them want to live another day, or that makes them want to go out and tell somebody else they love them, then it's a good thing. But I find sometimes that sometimes my joy chaps the ass of humanity. And I used to feel shamed about that and pull it back. And now I think I've rebelled like a young Van Doren, and I do twice as much now, as much love for everyone.
Right. It's interesting you say that, because even like my children, I will tell them I love them all the time, and they'll tell each other that they love each other.
Yeah. That's so
I love
sweet.
that. I love that unconditionally. I love you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
Okay. That's a nice number.
Yes.
And did anybody have the gift? Probably everybody asked that, but I can't believe I just asked that.
It's interesting because all the women in my family and generations, it's all the women.
Okay.
All the women, the cousins, the aunts. Yes, the boys do, but the women have it stronger.
Yeah. I got mine from my mom, and her mother died very young, but she went once to this like super well-known psychic in the 80s who told her that my grandmother, who passed when my mom was 5, also had it. And then it was a maternal line thing with us. My mother's was incredibly strong. Yeah. And that's kind of part of the reason I think I didn't come out for so long, because I thought, well, I don't have that kind of gift, so mine must be lame. But but
And look at you now.
right. But one, it grew because it's a muscle, right? The more
It's
you
a
use it, the
muscle.
more you get. Two, I was underestimating me. And three, when she passed, she dumped all of her gifts onto me. Downloaded. I don't quite know how to say it. I
Wow.
was standing in her driveway about 45 minutes after she passed, and I felt this like whoosh, and I was like, oh
Wow.
my God, now
Wow.
I have hers too.
Wow.
So, and then
Did,
she just kind of subtly said, now it's your time, kid. And I
did
was
it
like,
feel, Sheena, like a shock, like a jolt for you?
it felt like um, a heavy, warm, wet pile of energy hitting
Wow.
me on the head and going into my system.
Wow.
And then I feel like my eyes opened up 4 times as large. And the
Wow.
first thing I thought was, oh my God, no wonder my mother hardly ever left the house. Because my
Wow.
mom was such an empath, and she didn't have a mother like me to guide her through it because,
Right.
she grew up in the system because her mother died. And then she was adopted by the folks I knew as my grandparents. And my grandmother was, for her day, like this kind of celebrity psychologist.
Mhm.
So I never discussed, she died when I was 11, and I never discussed religion with her. I mean, very Presbyterian, daughter of the Mayflower, but I think probably secretly, probably an agnostic, because everything with her was about this earth. So she was nobody my mom ever could have discussed her gifts with. So
Interesting.
my mom felt her empathy was very overwhelming for her. In a Scorpio, and they can hide. They tend to kind of hide
Right.
sometimes if they feel uncomfortable. She was always sort of in her little desert cave.
Right.
And yeah, so I understood how hard it was for her. And it was a whole kind of that year. It was very hard for me to get hard for me to get used to her gifts. And an interesting thing happened. I developed, I think because of all the enhancement of the solar plexus chakra with the gifts, I developed AFib that year.
Really?
And then it went through like 3 years of learning to get that under control. And yes, diet, and yes, medication, and yes, yada yada. But I think also learning to control that massive amount of empathy, and learning that I can't be around crowds of 200-300 people anymore and give every single person a hug in a night and not feel like I'm going to go into AFib. There's only so much I can be drained now.
Right.
And yeah, so it was an interesting year. And I think I got that from her gifts, because she had it. She had AFib.
That makes me wonder how when she was going through all that, what would she do to distract herself from all the information? Because they're downloads. How did she deal with that? I wonder.
She worked with her hands. She was a brilliant fine artist, which I'm not.
Okay.
She did everything: needlepoint, embroidery, ceramics. She painted. When I was little, my parents, redid everything in the house.
Mm-hmm.
She could design anything, create anything. So I think that was how she put herself into the present, was
Right.
to make art.
Right.
And that's how she distracted herself. And she watched a lot of musicals, and she did a lot of crossword puzzles, and she played a lot of solitaire. I mean, solitaire, I now know that it was when she was starting to feel like empath overload.
Right.
Man, those cards would come out and she'd start flipping those cards.
Right.
And I think it was just something that she could do that relaxed her, because it's interesting. Now I have discovered that so many of my empath friends also play solitaire. And so there must be something kind of cathartic about it that puts you back into yourself, because you don't have to do like a lot of thinking, and
Right.
you know what I mean? Now everybody does it on their phones, but still. So yeah, she had ways that I think she would pull herself out of her spiritual self and into the world.
Right.
By putting her hands directly on things. And she read a lot, and she almost never read nonfiction. She read like fantasy, like she wanted to go away and be someplace else where she wasn't here. So I think that was a lot of it too. And she isolated. She would get to points where she had enough with people, and she'd pull a blanket up to her nose and stay at home for a couple of days. And so I think I learned from that. And I think a lot of people with gifts need to know, an empath, that's a gift, that it's okay to say, you know what, I need to stay home today and just be chill. I need to stay home today, pet my animal companion, put a little something on the TV. I don't always have to be out where people are.
Right. It's interesting you say that, because I have learned as well that there are people who medicate themselves because they don't want to deal with it.
Yes.
I have to say, learn to feel, because they are covering up this beautiful privilege that we have, that we're born with, that
Yes.
we can make a difference. And if you're medicating it because you don't know how to deal with it, then educate yourself to read, find out, go to school, go to class, find out what it is that you have. Because if you're intuitive, you may want to open that door, because it will make a difference in your
Yes.
life
Yes.
tenfold.
Yes. 100%.
Mhm.
Whenever people come to me and they say, I want to grow my gifts, I always say the first thing you do is you get control of your empathy.
Mhm.
Because if you're going to be opening a bunch of doors and start doing predictions, or God forbid mediumship work, and you haven't learned to get control of your empathy, it's going to get off the rails.
Mhm.
So the first thing you have to do is you have got to learn to get control of your empathy. It's
Yeah.
the base of all of your spiritual work. Now, that being said, Van Doren, and we could give, examples that we won't give. There are a lot of really good predictive psychics who are
Mhm.
not empaths.
Mhm.
I mean, I have in my life known some psychics who, what's the expression? They would piss on you if you were on fire.
Mhm.
And that was a scary thing for me, because when I first started dealing with my gifts, I mean, years ago, when I started thinking about my gifts, so like in my 20s, like way before I knew you, um, I I thought every psychic was going to be this wonderful, loving person. But then my mom, I never have gone to a psychic for a reading. That's my full disclosure, because I had my mother, but my mom went to every psychic because she was trying
Mhm.
to learn about her gifts, right?
Right.
And I would be surprised sometimes at some of the things that they would say, and she would come back so sad, and I would think, I don't understand. That's what a healer is. But you can have the gift and not have the empathy.
Mhm.
So I think you have to, when you go see psychics, if you are an empath, you probably want to be with somebody who's also an empath.
Mhm.
So you feel them out, because just because somebody has a gift, it's like I learned that as an artist, right? Just because somebody's a terrific actor doesn't mean they're a terrific person or they're an empathic
Mhm.
person. Sometimes they're just really good at flipping into a character.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that was a big shocker for me.
I had to learn by being around like-minded people that I
Mhm.
felt safe and comfortable with.
Beautiful.
When I met you, I didn't even speak a word. I was always quiet and shy.
Right. You barely spoke on my show. I think I had to
I
pull it out of you the first time.
Yeah, I would not speak. Now it's like I can't, my mouth doesn't shut, I have too much to talk about and too many stories to share, because people need to hear stories. They love stories. They love examples. They love experiences, and they want to hear them because they want to relate.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And the world needs your warmth.
Mhm.
And that's you, universal you, everybody watching. The world needs your warmth,
Right.
because we need to fill this world up with love and light.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you have to become a spiritual practitioner or you have to sacrifice your whole life in some way.
Mhm.
Just you go into Starbucks, you go into the store, you go into the gas station, bring your warmth and light. Say thank
Yes.
you, say please, smile at people, be nice, let somebody go ahead of you, be kind. It doesn't always have to be, what's I don't understand, but it seems to be completely gone. When someone lets you cut it in front of them, remember this, thank you. It seems like people don't know to do that anymore. I feel like I'm waving at myself on the freeway. Thank you. Thank you. People are like, why is that crazy woman waving? But it used to be, right? When you were little and you'd ride around with your
Oh
mom.
yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
and every time you change lanes, somebody would thank you. Like
Yeah.
we need to bring that back,
Yep.
because I just automatically do it.
Mhm.
I've had people say, "Why do you say please and thank you so much?" And I'm like, "Why don't you? I mean, shouldn't we be? That's all free, right?
Yeah.
Please, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you." Um, One of my dearest friends, who's my songwriting partner, he sent me this thing that I want to say it's Russell Brand, but a video about like, I'm proud of you, how we don't say I'm proud of you enough. So now
Mm.
he started saying, I'm proud of you to me. And I'm like, I'm proud of you. And I say that to my clients all the time. I'm so proud of you with like every milestone they make, because my mom always said that to me. But I realized I don't say it a lot to my friends. And I really
Wow.
should, because they need I'm proud of you too. And we don't
Mhm.
say I'm proud of you enough,
Mhm.
or I
Mhm.
appreciate you, or I think you did really good there, really well. I guess say it and then I say it with bad English. Really well there. Like, it's why are we scared to be effusive like that? It's just filling the world with love.
I'm going to answer to that. I think COVID has gotten us to that point now,
Yeah.
to really look at a lot of our human self, to stop and see what we are doing, how we are acting, what we are reflecting upon others and ourselves. I really believe that had to do with COVID, did that in a
Mm.
bigger spectrum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In spirit,
Yeah.
spirit,
Yeah. Well, we had all that time in our heads.
spirituality. I don't know. I
Yeah.
had to say that. I had to say that.
Yeah. And you think that was you think it's better now than at the beginning of COVID? Or do you think COVID has made it worse?
No, I think it's better now.
I do
I,
too.
I do. I honestly do. The world changed.
I do too. I think people as a species, with exceptions,
Mhm.
sometimes don't do something until they have to. Like, people were never nicer to each other than after 9/11, right? Suddenly
Right.
everybody in New York was kissing each other on the
Right.
streets. And then we all realized it wasn't going to happen again. People forgot about it and went back. I think COVID, on a very base level, scared the crap out of all of us, because any of us could have gone at any time. And I think it's made us think maybe about the preciousness and the fragility of human life, and it's made us think about how important we are to each other. So
Right.
I think that's great if that's coming back. And
Yes.
I think that's beautiful. And I also think having a generation of kids coming up that are not afraid to speak their mind and tell you exactly what they think. My best friend's daughter, who's I call my niece, is 15, and she's a love. But man, she'll just come right up and tell you how she feels, not like in a rude way, but she
Mhm.
just is very expressive about what's going on inside of her, and very honest, and very observational of what's going on around her. And I think that's wonderful, because I think that I don't know why, maybe we weren't taught to do that, but I think we were taught to be private and not talk about things, and don't share your weakness because people don't want to see when you're weak, and
Mhm.
you stuff it down, stuff it down, stuff it down. Maybe that's just my Irish upbringing. There's a lot of stuff it down.
You know,
Um,
the generations are fading out. Our ancestors, we're breaking those cycles.
yeah,
This time around, we are breaking the cycles, and the new generations now have broken the cycles, and they are who they are. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. And I think that's fantastic. And I think
Mhm.
that COVID has helped. I hope so.
Mhm.
I like to think that on a spiritual level, there was a
Mhm.
reason for COVID, because I
Yes.
like to think there's a spiritual reason for everything. For me, I think the reason for COVID was that for the first time, maybe in the history of the world, since
Mhm.
the comet came and took out the dinosaurs, I think the entire Earth was going through the same thing at once. Because even wars, it's like, okay, it's happening there, but it's not really happening here. Even the
Right.
world wars weren't happening everywhere on the earth. But this was happening, nobody was safe from it. And I think it made us realize that there is no us and them, there's just us.
Right.
And I hope that really helped.
Right. Yeah. We're in a good place now.
I think so too. But I will say that I think as spiritual practitioners, we need to be the example of that. We need to walk that talk, and not be judgmental of our clients, and most especially not be judgmental of each other. I mean, we're here to help each other. We're not
Absolutely.
here to fight each other and be competitive and be weird. And we all need to work together. And I think that's anybody in any of their professions, but this is ours, so I'm talking about this one. We need to think of ourselves as a unified force bringing light to the world,
Mhm.
and not, who's getting more readings than who, and
Mhm.
who's got this and who has that. And it's, it's time for us to stop all that silliness, get out of the third grade, and band together.
You get to a point where that's old. You can't even tap in. You can't even get close to that
Yeah.
anymore. You kind of just get to a point that you can't go back. You can't turn back. You got to keep moving forward,
Yeah.
and you keep embracing everything that comes to you, whether it's sad, challenge, an excitement, something overwhelming. You go with the process of it all now.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah,
totally beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, and
I
you just
agree.
embrace it with open arms, and then it's somehow the universe starts connecting you with other people like-minded, or and you
Yes.
start like collaborating, or you just start flowing together, and it just like booms, right?
Yep. It's like beating a necklace, like one beat at a time.
Mhm. Right.
Beautiful. What are you excited about in your spiritual practice right now? Like what's the thing that you're really excited about?
I am really excited now that I'm working on a missing persons project. And that has been the most rewarding experience of my journey because it's bringing closure in a bigger spectrum, not only with psychic and as being a medium, connecting with the other side, but you are finding people. We're finding people
Yeah.
using our intuitive abilities.
Yeah.
And that's a channel, that's like having assistance from God or from the higher power, from somewhere up there. They're helping.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I can say. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I think that is the most beautiful work. I have done just a tiny tiny bit of that. And I think it is the most beautiful and rewarding work, and it takes guts, because you have to be ready
Mhm.
to be open about what you're seeing, and not be scared that it might be the wrong thing, or did I really see that. You just have to be strong and get it out there, because usually the first thing that you're seeing is the right thing. Our brain
Exactly.
sometimes goes in and tries to talk us out of it.
I
um
mean, Sheena, I've known you for over 10 years
yeah.
and I barely spoke a word. I barely came out and said anything on your radio shows. And now it's like, Sheena, I'm finding people.
Right, and you're talking, and let me be the first to say right now on the show, I'm so proud of you, and so proud of you at the groundedness and the ease with which you spoke in front of people at the Paracon on that giant stage. I mean, you were cool as a cucumber up there. I don't think anybody would have ever known that there was a time when you were shy to talk in front of people.
Oh my gosh, I was so shy. I couldn't even be on radio. I couldn't even be on your show, and I was like pushed, "Hey, you got to come." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go.
And
No."
I would make you talk a little bit, right? And aren't you glad
Yes.
you did?
I'm
Because I didn't want the whole
yes.
show to go by without you having just a little bit of something to say. So you had something for you. Um, uh, and I hope I create a safe enough environment that you can be shy, because I'm a horribly shy human being, Van Dorn. I'm so, people go, you don't seem shy to me. And I'm like, get to know me and you'll realize how shy I am. This is the great and powerful Oz, and there's like a little girl running it, but
But
um,
see, this is where we have to create that space for, I'm going to call them newbies, right?
yes, yes,
And we have to, okay, you're shy. Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay, we'll
yep,
see you in 3 months. Okay, we'll see you in 6 months. And then they're just nonstop because you
yes,
gave them that little space.
yes, yes, and the safety to know, hey, if you don't want to say more than 2 words, you don't have to. We're
Right.
not trying to push you into something.
Mhm.
We just want you to feel comfortable talking.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're doing so many great things. An hour
Thank
was
you.
not enough. Will you come back and we'll do this again? I would love it.
I would love to come back. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Where can people find you everywhere?
I have a website. It's my first name, Van Doren, my last name, Figueredo, at Van Doren Figueredo at, no, VanDorenFigueredo.net.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for you to get it. I wasn't going to get in the middle of it.
I was, yeah. That's
Beautiful.
where you can find me. My first
Okay,
and
and the
last
Missing
name.
Person Project, you can find that there too.
Yes, it's called One Case at a Time. And that's onecase@a-time.net. So that's also another launch project that just launched in February. I've only got 3 months into it, 4 months.
So I'm so happy for you and so proud of you. Thank you so much for being here, sweetie. Let's do this again soon.
Thank you.
The wonderful Doren Figueredo, everybody. Isn't she fantastic? Yay, our studio audience speaks. Thank you for being here, my dear friend. And thank you to Parapod TV and its owner and operator, another dear friend, Tony Sweet, for allowing us to be part of your television family. And to my engineer and producer, Emery, the wind beneath my wings, who comes here to do these shows, even when I'm fairly sure that Florida is sinking. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. If you missed any of the links, I'm at SheenaMetalSpiritual.com. You can find me everywhere on social media, and please do at Sheena Metal, just like my name. And please text me and let's stay in touch. I'm at 818-437-0886, and I'm accessible to talk pretty much anytime via text. I answer all my texts. You never have to worry about that. Until I see you next time, seek peace, live in love, lead with kindness, embrace unity, always work to raise your vibration, and know that you are love and you are loved, and you're so loved by me. I'm Sheena Metal. This is the Sheena Metal Experience. I'll see you next Wednesday at 3 o'clock Pacific time, only on Parapod TV. And until then, stay beautiful and lovely and stay centered. And I love you so much. And namaste. I'll see you soon.